at my stream, I will start with a disclaimer. There's no malicious activities. We are just learning, sharing knowledge here, talking about cyber and our experiences. So that's like the disclaimer just for the sake of things. Who I am, I'm a penetration tester, one woman army. They call me the Wonder Woman of cyber because of my profile picture on LinkedIn with a red cape. And I like sharing my learning journey and motivational content on LinkedIn, Twitch, and YouTube. And okay, welcome again to my stream. This is Richie, and I wanted to give the stage to him so you can introduce yourself to everyone because you will do it best. And yeah, so stage is yours.
Hey, how's everybody doing? I'm Richie Vincent. I go by the handle of Anubis the Hacker. Currently work for Galbus Laboratories as a network and applications manager. Do pen testing on the side for a couple different people, um, and um just love cyber.
Yeah, okay. My first question for you is what sparked your passion for technology and how did you fall in love with computers?
It's crazy. So back in '98, it was the Bondi Blue Apple desktop. It was basically when I was in third grade. Didn't really like anything else in school other than just computers. But I actually fell in love with Oregon Trail. It was a game back then. So I wish I had a story of like me bypassing firewalls and opening up ports and things of that nature. But it's a little bit more subtle. So to quote BSD Bandit, it was more of hacking time. So I realized that computer lab was third period, so it was right after recess. And I figured if I can position myself um, right where we would line up, the way it worked in computer lab is the first five individuals get 15 minutes of free time. So that allowed me to spend more time in Oregon Trail. Um, and so I did that. From there, I realized that I really like computers. It was more on the game side, um, but because of how my dad was, he really didn't like that. He was more of like military or sports or things of that nature. So I kind of let it go for a while. It wasn't until COVID hit and I moved from California to the Southeast. Worked for a company called Patriot Family Homes, setting up housing for military personnel. Worked there for a while, traveling through all the Southeast. A week before I was going to leave to go to the police academy, messed up my shoulder. It kind of sidelined me. Once that happened, kind of rethought my process or whatever. Took the money that I saved up, started enrolling in like Udemy, started understanding how to use Python, Linux, Docker, containers, things of that nature. Signed up for the Next Gen T program, and right before I was going to start, I got a call from my uncle, and my uncle was basically just telling me like, the what you really need to do is start at entry level, understand the basics. So I started doing that, and it rest is history.
I just because it really reminds me of my story a bit that you had a kind of like a sidetrack of a journey that you wanted to do something else when you were younger, but then I don't know your parents had an impact on your life and you chose I don't know something that they suggested perhaps. But I wanted to ask like before continue with the questions because I'm looking at the display behind you
Hmm.
and you have like very cool things there, and you have the flipper and like the B-sides magazine, and a lot of badges from I think conferences. Uh,
Hmm.
and it seems like you're very proud of what you have there. So maybe can you tell me more about your display there?
Yeah, no worries. Again, like from where I left off, got into IT, basic IT help desk. Um, and one thing that my uncle told me was like, hey, instead of doing that, you do help desk, work your butt off, have the company pay for you. If they want specialized training, have them pay for that. Don't go and pay for that. So that's what I did. I hit the ground running. They purchased a 2-year subscription for Stormwinds Academy, and I just started getting to work. Taking all these different courses. I even looked at the CISSP, even though I wasn't going to take it. I even couldn't take it because of the 5-year stipulations, but I still took it because it allowed me to be able to speak to C-suite and upper management when it comes to disaster recovery, impact assessments and things of that nature. But really, I was looking for what I thought at the time was, basic cybersecurity. I didn't know about pen testing. I didn't know about red teaming. I just knew, oh, I want to get into cybersecurity. But going through that, I didn't see anything on that platform that lined up with that until it was one that stood out. It was a course by Ken Nevers from Red Seer. I took that course, and once I was done with the course, I reached out to him directly via email. And also all the other courses that I was taking at the time, I reached out and was like, hey, I just finished your course. It was amazing. I'm actually trying to do this. You have any advice? None of them responded back. The only one responded back was Ken Nevers. It was so crazy. We had the conversation via email. He called me up and then was like, hey, what are you doing next week? And I was like, working. He was like, can you get down to Florida? I was like, what's in Florida? He was like, we have a cybersecurity conference. I was like, yeah, I don't know. And basically, in short, he was just like, look, when it comes to hacking, we find vulnerabilities and we find a way to abuse them, right? So figure out a way to get down here, and the rest will come. So I went down to the CEO of the company and was like, hey, there's this amazing opportunity. I can bring value to the company through the cybersecurity aspect because we don't have that domain here. Do you think I can go? In short, he allowed me to go. I went down to Hackspace in Florida, and that was my first cybersecurity conference. It was crazy. I got to train with Royce Davis, who's a red teamer, awesome dude. Went through his course there at the time. One thing I will say, first day of the course, as anybody knows in cybersecurity or IT in general, there's always going to be issues. Not issues on his side, but it was more issues on the AWS side that he was using for the course. So instead of all of us having a box that we can utilize, there was only one box. So he had to go through the course and, we followed along, which was good because at the time I was so green where, I got dropped into a Linux box, and I didn't know what GitHub was. I didn't know how to pull anything. I didn't know anything, right? And it was a deep time because I went back to the hotel after the first day and was like reflecting on my life and was like, is this the right path, right? Um, but I was here. I drove all the way down here to do this. I said, you know what, let's just do it. Second day, did the course. Everything went good. After that, me and Royce Davis talked. Uh, we became really good friends. One of my first mentors. He gave me one of his books that he wrote, which was awesome. And that actually put me in a position to not only just learn the fundamentals, but instead of like, just using Kali, like pull down Ubuntu and pull down the tools yourself. So that was a very pivotal moment. And from there, I just continue to start volunteering at every conference I can get my hands on and just networking. So those badges are from all that, challenge coins, all that. And yeah, fun times.
Yeah, that's a really cool story, and it shows me that you really want to learn, and like you have this drive to better yourself and like work on your skills. I can relate to that as well. And if that's okay, I want to ask another question, but I think you answered it and partially. So because it's how did you get started in your career? So I think you already answered that part, but what was the obstacles that
Obstacle. Yeah,
obstacle?
that
Yeah,
no worries.
yeah.
So the big obstacle was me with me again was there was no college degree, there was no prior knowledge, skill set or anything outside of like the Udemy, right? So when my uncle gave me the information and told me, hey, go find a basic IT help desk job, I thought that would be simple. So I started applying, and every job in my area, like I would go to interview and I would just get shot down. But again, the hacking mindset I feel in general is not just with computers, it's within life, right? So like what I would do is every interview I would go to, even if they shot me down, the questions they would ask, I would go back home, Google those questions, not look for the definition. Cool, I understand the definition, but how can I apply that? Back then I didn't know about what a sandbox was, but like now I look back at it and I'm like, what I was doing was taking this information. This is what it is. Okay, can I create a sandbox to replicate that, put those controls in, and then attack that? and really understand how the concept works on both sides. So again, started applying for all these companies, got shot down. Eventually, after like 30 different, companies, those questions start repeating themselves. And now I know that information. So I was able to land my first IT help desk job. But yeah, that was a major obstacle. It's just not having that degree, not having the skill set, and just starting from scratch, even at that low level. Like because the job I got, like they wanted not a bachelor's, an AA, and at least A plus or net plus, and I didn't have any of that. So that was the main obstacle in the beginning.
Yeah, I think yeah, I had the same experience recently because I was looking for a job for a while and I started Googling those questions and like learning those, and that's how the stream on Wednesdays actually started because I started getting a lot of really good questions and answers, and then I thought maybe I can share it with with the people and help other people because I had a lot of rejections, so it was like yeah, a bit playing with my head there, but it was very good approach for you to yeah, like a growth mindset kind of things to learn that as you go, I guess, you know.
Hmm. Exactly.
Who were the key mentors that you feel influenced your? Okay, one question before. How have you dealt with failure, and how has that shaped your relentless drive to succeed?
So it always changes, right? So like you feel like that you have an obstacle, you overcome the obstacle, and then you're good, right? So you've overcome that failure. But then another one comes, which is different, and it's totally outside of your wheelhouse. So how how I managed to just circumvent that is kind of step back and really think about everything that I've done in my past, right? When there was a bad situation and I thought it was the end all, at the end of the day, what really happened was I looked at the situation. It was overwhelming because it was outside of my wheelhouse. But then once you start stepping back and really analyzing, and then like, okay, you start breaking it down, right? What am I really looking at? If it's a web app, like, what am I really looking at? Does it involve PHP? Like, and then you start, maybe I need to fine tune my understanding of these skill sets. And then you just break it down piece by piece and you attack it. So that's basically my methodology is take a failure, break it down. If I don't know something about it, read up on it, and then go back and attack it.
So kind of also like learning on your mistakes approach. Maybe yeah,
Mhm.
not
I like
exactly.
that.
Who were the key mentors that influenced your journey, if you can share that?
Uh, there was a lot. I would say, depending on the situation, uh, as far as like getting the cyber, again, it was Ken Nevers from Red Seer. Um, once at that cyber conference, really realizing what's going on and how much I have to learn. It was Royce Davis, and then going forward, there's been a lot of individuals: Philip Wiley, uh, Michelle Khan. Um, I would say Yvonne Rivera from Cybermite and Richard Evans, uh, my buddy Gabe. Um, but like as I started transitioning, I would say from the last hack space, the biggest individual and still to this day is my main mentor, which is the blind hacker um, from Dead Pixel Sec, and it's just outside of that, there's a lot of individuals that we might not talk every day, but they're influential. Like my buddy Mike Dave, Michael Kim, uh, and I think that at the end of the day, all these individuals shape you into who you are and help you in different aspects.
Yeah, I actually was thinking about that today because of the things that happened with IT Pro TV. And
Hmm.
actually, the purpose from them was like my first steps into like actually following the dream of mine to enter cybersecurity. So even if they're like, I don't really talk with them, but I watch their courses and I spent some time of my life with them. And when I was watching the courses, it felt like, oh, this is like my friend because he's helping me succeed in life. So even people like that help you on your path and like shape you in a way. And even like the people that you watch on LinkedIn, like if you follow someone and really like their posts, even that
Mhm.
person has some impact on your life, I think. So
100%.
yeah. What guidance can you offer on finding the right mentors, and what red flags should one look out for? And I want to also add another question to that one. If
Sure.
you see that a mentor wants you to pay for their services, is that a red flag for you, or what can you tell me about that?
Okay, so um, how I went about finding my mentors. In the beginning, it was like again, I didn't know anything, so it's just like whoever would mentor me, I'm all for it. I appreciate it. But as I started getting more involved with the cybersecurity community, I started realizing that it is no different from any other, you know, clique or group or sect in life. You have good individuals, you have bad individuals, you have lazy individuals, you have individuals that are overachievers. So for me, it's more like figuring out first and foremost what type of individual are you outside of cybersecurity. Like, are you a type person that's going to go the extra mile? Are you going to a type person that if say your mentor calls you at 2 o'clock in the morning, hey, I just spun up this box, let's go attack it. Are you gonna like, oh no, I'm tired. Like so finding out who you are first. As far as like red flags for me personally is individuals. I wouldn't say who are based off financial gain to like look out for them. I would because there are really good individuals. For example, Jason Haddix, right? Like his courses that he offers, super good stuff. Personally, if I had the money, I would grab it. But then you have individuals who uh, their content, right? Their content, what they do, to me personally, I don't see it's worth it. It's more of a money grab, if that makes sense. So I think it's more of understanding who that individual is. Does this individual really grow? Like, is he always trying to evolve? What he's doing is he or she always trying to learn, or they're just trying to give you some content that might be somebody else's content, but they're playing it as it's theirs for the money, right? So that's kind of like where I fall when it comes to things of that nature, and I look out for it, right? So yeah, just my just my opinion.
Yeah, the last one I don't really respect that because that's yeah that's unethical in my
Hmm.
eyes.
Yeah.
And yeah, and also I don't really like those. Yeah, I'm on YouTube myself, but yeah, I don't really
Yeah.
like when people are sharing those overly emotional, images there, like they're
Hmm.
screaming or like holding their face, So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's I don't like clickbait. I don't respect that. So I really like a YouTube channel of Hackersploit because he just shares his knowledge. He's trying to explain it the best he can,
Hmm.
and he's doing that in a very patient way, and no like clickbait thing it's happening there. And so I really respect that. It's I feel that he is respecting me as a viewer as well, from like how he creates his content, and he doesn't think that I'm a stupid person because there's no money grab there. There's no He's
Hmm.
not trying to cheat me into clicking in his video. I just want to be there because it's like very top quality. So that's just what I wanted to say. And also, yeah, when I see that someone there's like wants me to pay for the mentorship, I start to wonder if that's like really worth my money, or is it like, as you said, money grab? And because a lot of content out there is like very on the surface,
Hmm.
and not a lot of people is going dives deeply into the subject and explains everything in
Hmm.
detail. There's mostly like I don't know. I can get the same content by just googling
Googling.
that
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
reading top three
100%.
articles. So uh, yeah, not everything on the internet is worth your time, so just need to, I don't know, think, do you respect your time or I don't know. Is that
100%. And to add to that, I would say like just just because an individual has tons of followers, right?
yeah.
That doesn't make this individual an expert, right? And just because the individual doesn't have a lot of followers doesn't make this individual not know their skill set. So for me personally, I can speak with an individual for 5 minutes and ask two or three questions. And if they can break it down past that baseline and really um, articulate an outcome, right, and really explain to me that individual knows what they're talking about, right? But if you just see an individual like, oh, this person has 100,000 followers, they're doing this, that means nothing to me. What is the content saying? Are you really taking a deep dive and saying, like, looking through that individual's content and saying, hey, is this realistic? Because a lot of it, and it really hurts me because I see a lot of people that are trying to get into the field, right? I personally didn't feel that I would be mentoring people this early in the stage of my career. But once I started doing that, I realized how important it is to uh, be the best individual that I can do, that I can be, right? And give them the information as most accurately as possible. Because nobody's 100% right. Things change, right? I work in a laboratory, right? In that laboratory, we have individuals, PhD people, right? And I have grown to understand the scientific method and how that works. And within that domain, you know, this was based off truth at this point in time, right? Based off this hypothesis and what it has concluded. But then over time, that's eroded and we have another truth. So the same concept applies with this as well. Like, just do your homework and go from there.
Yeah, like teach by example. That's
Hmm.
what I thought. Yeah, about you and what you said just now. That you, what kind of a person you are, what do you share on your feed, and yeah. But yeah, I also don't really. I don't always see the value of people that have more than I don't know, 100,000 followers,
Hmm.
because sometimes they just share uh, very popular, I don't know,
Opinions.
motivational or
Yeah.
opinions, or just
Yep.
share like lists with, I don't know. So sometimes, and I had situations sometimes when people like that share someone else's content as their own or copy paste as their
Hmm.
own. So I don't respect that totally because it's like, for me, it's theft.
Exactly.
But also sometimes I see that they share a picture or something motivational, and they don't share the source. So that's
Hmm.
for me that, yeah, that's
Yeah. 100%.
sticky for me too. So I do share other people like pictures, but I always try to share the source if I know
Hmm.
it. So at least that's what I'm trying to do. So it's like fair in my eyes.
Hmm.
Okay.
100%.
Another question, because we are like I'm very chatty, so it's like, yeah. In your view, how do certifications compare to a traditional college education in your field?
That's a slippery slope. Um, as you probably, I wouldn't even say probably, as you know as well, right? So like when you were on the job hunt, right, you would go through what you went through in the sense of like looking for different jobs. And they're like, hey, look, we need a master's in cybersecurity and we need 5 years of experience for this job. And it's like, dude, that's a that's an associate position. Like, if I had a master's degree and 5 years of experience within this domain, why would I be an associate? So I feel like it's a mixture, right? So like when you think about how a lot of these jobs are, if it's a really big job, right? Majority of the time they're going to use some type of system that's going to be implemented to parse through these resumes, right? If it's a smaller job, or say like If it's a smaller job where you have individuals who actually going through an actual physical person who's going through these resumes, then your resume can stand out as it should. Or if you have a plug, right? So like it's like, hey, this is my buddy. Here's my resume. He passed it on, and they're actually gonna look at your resume. So it just depends. But overall, I think it's come to the point, at least for me, from what I've seen, is like I have known people, and I know people who have a master in cybersecurity and are great, and I've known people who had a master's in cybersecurity, not so great. I've also known people who have no degree, who's been doing this since they were like 9 years old, not cybersecurity, but just tinkering stuff, the hacker mindset, right? Who surpass all these people. So I think it actually depends on the individual, what job you're applying for, the size of the company, and then on top of that, it's the network. Like, do you have a plug? Do you know somebody there? If not, okay, the size of the company, and how their overall infrastructure is set up.
Yeah, I do agree with you. And what I've noticed that they ask for uh, like the master's degree, the formal education when there's like, for example, you have to work for a government, or for example, sometimes a big consultancy is looking for that as well. But maybe that's a different market. So I would talk about Europe, Poland here. But from my recent experience, they mostly are looking if you have skills and if you have certifications actually. But because I did get a lot of rejections because I didn't pass my OECP and I really
Mhm.
needed that. So, but they didn't care if I have master's degree in economics. So yeah, it was like irrelevant. So, and a lot of my friends also when they went study computer science, they just ended as the bachelor's degree, or they even didn't get a degree at all because they got a
Mhm.
job and started earning like decent money. So they
Mhm.
didn't feel like, why did I need the paper,
Right, right,
and the
right.
emotional damage of the exams. But
Yeah,
from
100%.
what I've noticed, like my friends are doing is, I had like very one like I would say about one person, and
Hmm.
I think he did a good thing. So he had, like the formal education, but then he started seeing, oh, they don't really teach me the things that I really want to do at my jobs because I'm interested in VMware, and like
Hmm.
building clouds on my own. So he started doing the certifications that were very, like pinpointing that really small area of his
It's
interest.
specific. Yep,
And
yep, yep.
then yeah,
100%.
and
Yep.
did a few like Cisco and like very specific vendors, and
Hmm.
got like really well paid jobs after that. So he didn't finish the education because what was the point? But actually, what and another comment that my friends that were studying computer science said that, oh, I got the job because I started doing online courses on my first year because I've noticed, oh, they don't really teach me anything useful here. So it's
Hmm.
like, I don't know, depends what you want in life because sometimes it's really smart if you want to, for example, work for a government or you have like a specific job in mind that needs you to have the degree to just do the degree just for the sake of the paper thing, like at the end for the to get the job, but also like learn through the courses and the certifications to get actually the hands-on knowledge. Yeah, I'm chatty.
No, no, 100%. And to add on to that, like I feel like, so for example, like with the OCP, right? And now, because I'll be sitting for mine on the 29th, right after Thanksgiving.
Oh, nice.
And now it's the OCP plus, right? So like, it's assumed breach. You're already on the network, low level access. Pivot from there. For me personally, uh, I haven't passed the OCP or the Hack the Box certification, but I know individuals who've passed both, right? And what I keep hearing is like the Hack the Box one is a lot more legit, right? Um,
Oh.
when I took, yeah, exactly, when I took the PMPT, what I really what was missing for me personally, right? And even going through the OSCP um, content material, I was like, I'm more of like, how can I break this down to I'm tired like don't just give me a tool to use. I want to understand the core concepts, right? And then like another big thing was with the certifications, a lot of them doesn't really go in depth within web app. And like in this whole process, I've learned that a lot of these, even the junior jobs, deal with web app. So like when I'm going on these individuals are like, okay, so like how much web app experience do you have? I'm like at the moment, not like like bare minimum within the course material, but like they don't really go in depth, right? Like so, okay, we know SQL injection, we know cross-site scripting, we know, but like what about the whole OWASP, like the top 10? Like, do you understand all those? Can you see those and attack those if they were put in front of you, right? And a lot of the times, for the more junior individuals who are just getting in, they don't even understand the core concepts. So I think on the certification side, um, that should be more. They should bring more content in on that side. Just to answer the question, formal college versus certifications. I think certifications are great. It does open windows, and it opens a lot of doors for individuals that are trying to get in. But the standards still, I mean, as I see, are at up until now has been OSCP. They don't really even care. Even though the Hack the Box certification is 10 times better, or I wouldn't say better, more difficult, from what I heard, they still OCP has been the gold standard. So that's what's going to get you through the HR firewall. That's what's going to get you in front of somebody who's more technical, and you can actually showcase your skill set. Until that's changed, I feel like it's that's just what it is at the moment.
Yeah, but that's like actually you have a point there because when I started to be a pen tester, I was doing only web for like
Yeah,
like 2 years
exactly.
straight, and
100%.
and so OCP is just I don't know Active Directory and like other boxes, but like mostly that. But you actually don't do Active Directory when you start at your first job, so it's like yeah, there
Yeah.
is like a hole in the market. I think so. It's a bit stupid, but yeah, I never mind. But
Yeah.
that's why I started. Like, my friend actually told me that it would be because I have to be better at web. I already have experience, but it would be nice to also have some other certification that just CompTIA Security Plus. So I'm now instead of going for OCP, I already did the course, but I just didn't pass the exam. I want to do it again in some time, but yeah, that exam traumatized me a bit. But never mind. But just wanted
I
to say
got you.
that now I'm going for the bug
Thank you.
bounty
2 weeks,
hunt.
2 weeks before my exam, you tell me that. Thank you. I appreciate
Uh, no, no, but
that.
it traumatized me because of the things that were happening during the course in my private life and
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
on the exam with my laptop. I will tell you the story in a moment, but that's
Gotcha.
why I'm going for the bug bounty hunter certification from Hack the Box because
Nice.
that's mostly web vulnerabilities. And I
Hmm.
also was trying myself at the Pulse Trigger
Okay, their main course, yeah.
Warp Suite practitioner. I think it's
Hmm.
so that only web penetration testing, and it's
Right.
very, very difficult in my opinion because I read like people who had 7 years of experience in pen testing didn't pass that first time. So, and I went after it in 1 year of experience, like pretty green. So I didn't pass, but I went. I got the flag, so yeah, I wasn't totally terrible.
Nice.
So yeah, good job there. Delta. But from the OCP, I wanted to say that yeah, during the course, my cat died, so that really
Mm,
that broke me like emotionally, and
gotcha.
it was very hard to study and before that she got really sick, so I had to go to the veterinarian, and sometimes in the middle of study I had to just grab her and run to the vet to give her oxygen. So that was really Uh, the course was stressful. I had like a lot of pressure on myself, and then the cat on top of that. So that was like, you know. And then
Gotcha.
on the exam, I maybe my main mistake was running the proctoring service in Chrome. So
Mm,
that ate all of my RAM. And my laptop said, "Oh, if you want to type anything in Google, you have to wait 3 minutes, and we will give you the results." So it felt like Interstellar when they,
mhm.
like landed on that water planet when every minute is like 7 years on. So I
Yeah.
felt like that with during my OCP exam that I couldn't really Google for any exploits. It was terrified. So after a while, yeah, I thought, yeah. It's not going to happen for me. It's like I don't have the nerves. So yeah, that was my. But for you, I'm sure it will be perfectly fine for you, and you will pass. So fingers crossed, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck. Tell me how it went if I forget about it.
Will do.
Uh, Next question. Finally, what are the various levels of volunteering, and how can they contribute to professional growth?
So what I've realized personally has been there's three levels, right? So you have your basic volunteer, right? Individual who shows up at a conference, they're given a task, they do that task, um, and just at that level, you meet people, right? Depending on where you're at within that venue. There's a second level, right? So you have like a volunteer lead, right? Individual who's in charge of other volunteers. Um, so you start networking a lot more, and then you have um, a volunteer who actually is not necessarily above a lead, but it can be even a basic volunteer, or it can be a volunteer lead, or it can be an individual who's over these individuals, but just an individual who goes above and beyond, and people start noticing who you are, right? Um, they see that okay, you're volunteering over here, you're volunteering over, so like you're just a familiar face, and it's not just like um, this individual's coming here for a free ticket, or this individual's coming here just to be seen. It's like this person really cares about expanding their horizon, their skill set, their network, and building upon that. I really do believe like there's three levels to it, right? Not necessarily saying that just the baseline, the first level is bad or anything like that, but if you take that a step further, you realize like what you put into this is what you're gonna get out, right? Um, if you come just to be a volunteer, do your job. It's just like on a basic job, right? If you just come to work, do your job, go home. Versus if you come to work, you go above and beyond the call of duty, and you're still, trying to learn more things. You build your skill set, you build your network, and then you have the individual who does all that, but he helps other individuals, right? So now this individual's mentoring, or this individual's opening doors for other people. That not only me personally like gives me a certain feeling that I'm helping other individuals, but that you're literally helping another individual, right? Um, and it's a circle. It comes back to you because there's only so much you can do within 24 hours, right? But like everybody wants to make money, everybody wants to build their skill set, but like at the end of the day, how I started, I gave back in the beginning, right? I said, look, the way I want to do this is I want to put it forward. You, I don't have the money, I don't have the skill set. What can I do to put it forward? I can volunteer. I did that, and then I was like, all right, well, how can I step that up? Got to that second level, and it wasn't to this till I got to the third level. And for example, when I went to Hack Red in Kentucky, right? So um, I was a technical project manager for the beginning and the mid um, phases of this conference. Work got uh, really busy, so I had to kind of back out towards the end. But in that beginning process, I start seeing everything that happens within the process leading up to the conference, and I realized that it's a lot of work, and people don't get a lot of credit for putting together conferences, right? Like it's It's stressful. There's a lot of long hours. There's a lot of things that you don't want to do, just like a basic job, but it's compacted in a small time frame because like you have to get all this stuff ready, and then it's like lights, camera, action on game, on game day. Um, but yeah, when going to Hack Red, going to Churchill Downs, going to Kentucky this year, it was crazy because I within a 2 year time frame, I went from barely knowing nothing, knowing anybody, to like showing up and just knowing everybody, knowing everything, not knowing everything, but knowing everybody, like knowing how these things work, right? Um, but it also gave me a clear understanding that like respect the process, like respect the time frame and the hustle that goes into this. It's going to be a lot of lonely nights. It's going to be a lot of, am I making the right decisions? Is this right for me? But at the end of the day, when you see like especially like the newer people that's coming into this, and you're like, man, they're so happy, and they're starting to build new skill sets, they're starting to network. It makes all the difference.
Yeah, because you're a giver, I think. So you have to act according to who you are as a person. So I'm a giver
Hmm.
too. That's why I'm trying to give back on LinkedIn as much as I can. But yeah, sometimes it's really hard. So yeah, but I have another question for you. What
Okay.
strategies do you recommend for building a strong network, both digitally and offline, yeah, away from keyboards?
I would say it time management, right? So like you have to understand again 24 hours in a day, right? Within those 24 hours, how do you break it down? How do you allow yourself to go to work? How do you allow yourself to continue to grow? And then how do you allow yourself to give back? Um, and the best way to do that is time management. It's understanding the time you have, understanding how you're going to allot that certain amounts of time to certain line items, and then execute.
It's a very good answer. Yeah, and I agree with you. And how can individuals manage the challenges of being antisocial or extremely introverted, often referred as an Elliot Anderson syndrome?
I think we both can answer this question.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
um, it's extremely difficult. Um, I will say two big people who have impacted just me personally, dealing with being that type of individual. One of them being you, and one of them being Yvonne Rivera from Cybermite. Early on, she was a major impact in my life. As you know, when me and you took the physical access, um, or excuse me, physical audit course from Brian, we had the breakout room and we were going through those questioning. It, it was crazy, right? But then seeing you go and starting the podcast and seeing how from the first episode until now, like how much you've grown, that's been it's been inspirational, right? Um, and like with Yvonne, like I remember, I think it was the first hack rec I went to, and we were talking or whatnot, and um, she basically just told me like, dude, you need to like get your story out there, right? Like you need to get it out there. And I was like, I'm green. Like she's like, it doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, uh, you have to get it out there because a lot of people, yeah, they want to hear from the legends, right? Jason E. Street, Philip Wiley, people who've been doing it for years and years, right? But also like the a lot of the new people, like they're new to this, they don't know, right? And we all go through imposter syndrome and stuff of that nature, but especially now more than ever because you have these mentors who are after the money grab, and things of that nature, like it's even more. paramount that we, as individuals who are just past that green stage, but not mid to senior level, um, express the difficulties that we had to circumvent. So I think that's a major point. And like again, like I said again, I give both of you guys a shout out because both of you guys have been inspirational in overcoming that Elliot Alderson syndrome.
Yeah, so I think I already told you that I spent like a lot of times indoors in the last year. So going to like speaking on a conference, for example, or even starting the stream was if you watch my first stream, I was terrified. My voice was like really high pitched, and yeah, I was like, and there was some kind of malfunction at the beginning, so I was it was insane. But now I got like really comfortable with that. So how can you step out of the your comfort zone and like do things if you never try, you know? So you have to
Exactly.
just take the first step, and even if you suck, it doesn't matter because all that matters is that you tried, and then you can see, oh, then maybe it's not for me. Then uh, okay, but I at least try, and now I know, you know. So
Exactly.
at least I think that's good. And what you said, I as like an applause from me that you have to tell your story as well, and I that's why I told my story. I thought maybe my story is about overcoming very big difficulties and like so it could be inspirational for others and give people hope and like I don't know some kind of different point on life
Hmm.
view on life. So that's why I shared my story. But your story is also very important because uh, Uh, I I just stepped into shoes of a newbie for a moment when you were
Hmm.
saying that, and I
Hmm.
thought, okay, this person has 20 years of experience. I can never be like that person. It's like you compare yourself to like this giant person, and you feel like so intimidated that it's like you are afraid to try even because it's like it's impossible, you know, like what the, but if like a person like you and me will share the story and like tell people like oh you just have to try and like learn by example and I started the stream and people are starting reaching out to me that oh you really inspired me, I'm starting my own podcast as well. So like three people did that. So even if that's the value I brought to the world with my podcast, and their podcast will be like sensational, you know, like amazing, then I'm really happy because that's a success, even if that's like success for the other person, but it doesn't really matter. And even I sometimes tell to people that they ask me, oh, how can I succeed? Like, how can I get a job in cybersecurity? You have to network, you have to join Discord servers, and you know, you have to go to the conferences and network, talk with people there, befriend someone there, you know, and then
Hmm.
you can have a buddy that you can hack a box with or do a CTF together, and also start sharing who you are as a person, build your personal brand. And it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be with someone that, oh, that person is really cool, I will replicate. No, it has to be who you are inside. So uh, with the red cape, but it doesn't have to, you don't have to be a superhero there. I just, because my red cape has a story uh, why I did that. So it's like, you know, so what is your background story? What is special about you? I have a friend that is very good at hardware hacking, so he's specializing in that and sharing that he started a stream. So I think that's amazing. So that's his identity, that's his special, like, you know, like business card. So go ahead and start a blog, start a you know, stream or YouTube channel, and or just start posting on LinkedIn, and that's phenomenal already. You can stand out. If there's like 100 people applying for a job, you're like someone that is doing the extra step there, so you're already better than the other people, you know. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's what I wanted to say here. Uh, golden thoughts of Dorota. What long-term growth strategies what should professionals consider regarding formulating LLC and personal branding?
So uh, again, so my mentor, Blind Hacker, right? He pretty much uh, gave me the information that I needed to start my own LLC, right? So as I'm taking and pulling in these pen testing contracts, I'm no longer taking them as, my personal self. I'm putting them against an LLC, a business, right? So now I start falling into the bracket of, hey, I can use this as a tax write-off. So all these conferences that I've been going to, right? Now I'm able to acquire more than just badges. I'm able to acquire, tax write-offs. I can do this, and it's an umbrella effect, right? So you're starting to build your brand. Um, so for me personally, that's been the biggest thing, is creating the LLC, starting the branding of the LLC, and then understanding how this all works, right? Because everybody knows, at least here in the states, that you got to pay your taxes. If you don't pay your taxes, they're going to come get you. So understanding how that LLC works, understanding what it shields you from, and understanding what you're liable for. So I think it's beneficial. It's benefited me in a lot of different things. Um, when it comes to that, it's because now, like when I went to the CEO, I was like, hey, I want to go to cybersecurity conference, right? So all right, cool. Here's you give me all your receipts, we'll turn it in, you get paid on the back end. Whereas now, you know, I can charge it straight to the LLC and still get paid, right? But I can also write it off at the end of the year. So that's helped me out tremendously, and I'm continuing to learn more about it, and all the advantages as well as the disadvantages that having LLC offers you.
I think that's the contractor.
Limit liability. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So I didn't. I connected the dots a bit too late.
Gotcha. Sorry.
It's okay. Uh, can you share your thoughts on the upcoming podcast you have in the works and the reasoning behind its development? Oh, that's really cool.
So again, thanks to you, I thought, hey, it was like time for, based off like what you've done, what Yvonne has told me, like I really feel that, and then also to kind of piggyback off the whole like mentor thing, right? Looking for red flags, like how do we bring something in that is original, that gives good content, that gives valuable content, and then like it's kind of like pay as you can type, like where it's not like you have to pay. You get the same content. If you want to pay, you're proud to pay, pay. If you can't pay or you don't want to pay, cool, whatever. But the goal here is to bridge that gap, right? So the new and upcoming cybersecurity type people who want to get into the field, they're not bogged down by individuals who are just after cash, right? Um, and also just giving good content. Like the same way that you feel, I feel like if I was to build a tool, let's throw it on GitHub. Let everybody be able to pull it down. If they want to modify it, add something else, cool. Like let that be available. Don't kind of like just pigeonhole everything and say, hey, this is the box. This is what it costs. If you don't have that, you don't get through the door, right? Um, because we have enough of that. Like I think like coming at coming in as like a Gen 7, Gen 8 hacker, like I still want to give back and get back to those roots of Gen 1 and Gen 2, the freakers and those school hackers, right? Where like, they did this because they love tinkering with things. They love seeing how they can break things and rebuild things because it didn't work how they wanted it to work initially out the box, or it had controls in place that were not what we liked. So we altered that. And like just giving individuals the avenue to really understand the baseline, and from that baseline they can grow, and then they start writing code and they start building things out, right? And then it just it just compound it's compound interest at that point, right? It just starts building and metastasizing, and these individuals help the next generation. I think me personally, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm sharing books to start your career in
Hmm.
the chat, and I just shared your socials.
Okay.
So yeah, okay. And then I'm running out of the questions from one list, but then I have the other list,
Oh
so
yeah,
maybe
shoot,
I'll ask
fire away.
you. So, okay, how did you see the journey of professional growth as a marathon rather than a sprint?
um, so I used to run track, right? I was a sprinter. I understood as a sprinter, um, like you have one objective. When you come out that block, you execute, right? And it's done. As a marathon, you start thinking about like your wind. You start thinking about like, is your calves going to give up on you, right? Do you have enough water in your body? Like you start thinking about different situations and different variables that start to come into play. So the same thing, once I understood in cyber, it was the same concept. It was like, look, when I came into this, it was just like, look, I'm gonna study. I'm just gonna smash through all this, and I really ran myself into the ground. I started volunteering at all these conferences. I put so much time and effort into this. Excuse me. But at the end of the day, it was like, how much of it was I giving to the actual skill set? So then I had to draw back and analyze what was really taking place. And what I realized was this is a marathon, right? You're going to have your ups, you're going to have your downs. It's not just like you come out the block and race is over. Cybersecurity is changing every day, right? And like you can be at the height of your career today, but if you don't steadily and continuously, look into vulnerabilities, 0 days, whatever is happening, if you're not in tune, you're falling behind. You've already lost, right? Your leg been cramped up. You need some water. Like you're sidelined. So for me, it's more the way I go and the way I look at it is like don't rush into it. Don't think of it as a sprint. Think of it as a marathon. Understand there's 24 hours in a day. You need to allocate certain hours of the day for personal upkeep, um, work, and then at the end of the day, you have certain hours that you can allocate to building your craft, specializing on whatever it is that you specialize on, and then your free time. So that's my outlook on it. It's not a sprint; it's a marathon. You have to understand that the best way to look at this is to articulate and say 24 hours how I'm going to divvy this out and then execute.
Yeah, I do agree with you, and I have also something from my story to add here because when
Hmm.
I started pentester, I was learning a lot, and so sometimes I spent and on the OECP course, for example, I started in 8 a.m. and then ended at 10 p.m. and I was learning. And in the middle of that, there was, the 8 hours of my job. But then straight away, opening the box and like doing some labs there. And I did that for a year. And then after the exam, I just was so burnt out of my mind. So
100%.
I didn't even touch my Kali for 3 months. So when I had my first interview with like a pen test, I open it and I was it's still the ICP there. Like it's like what the hell?
Yeah,
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 so
100%.
like I just wanted to say that's why it's not a sprint because I was really going crazy
Hmm.
doing like a lot of hours of like crazy, lab hacking and badge after badge, like certifications, whatever
Hmm.
I can read or like courses. Sometimes I had like a weekend when I did 3 courses and one weekend and I did it on like uh faster pace so the guy talked faster so it's like
Exactly.
it's insane so but now I understand and so another layer of that is when I was burnt out so I didn't touch the Kali And then I had interviews. I felt like really rusty. I felt like, oh, really slow. So that's why I'm also sharing the learning every day hashtag, because it's really important to spend at least, maybe 5 minutes is not enough, but like 15 minutes doing something educational, and like maybe reminding some comments, or like reading the documentation, or maybe going through like some kind of a blog. And also another layer, if you just pass the OCP, it's like if you buy a new car in this, like in the store. For example, you want to buy, I don't know, a Ford or a Toyota, and you go to the store to get it from like the official salesman, and then you go out of the store and the car is already losing value. So if you pass OCP and you just sit there, oh, I'm awesome, I'm
Yeah.
great, and then another week and you don't do anything because you feel like I'm a god, and
Yeah.
then you're already losing behind, you're stepping behind
Mhm.
with the people that are learning every day and spending their time on like mastering their craft. So yeah, don't fall for like, oh, I'm a god because I have OCP, because it's not true, because it's about, that's what my ex-manager told me, that this is entry level certification. So
Mhm.
in my understanding, although it's hard and you have to have years of experience to be actually pass it and like be good at it, it's for entry a certification to be a pen
Mhm.
tester. You're not a god there. Maybe if you pass like a several, like the more difficult ones from,
More
uh,
like a learning permit.
yeah, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
something you can start to be better. I don't know, like, but like a starter, yeah, that's a good.
I think the key component when it comes to the OCP is the time frame, right? So you have what, 5 boxes, and within that 23 and 45-minute time frame, you have to hit 5 boxes, right? So I think it's really the time crunch, and it plays with the psyche, because you're like, oh, like, I can't do that. It's 5 boxes, but realistically, like, um, I mean, say you're on engagement, right? And depending on the IP list that you have, say you have 1,000 IPs, say you have 100 IPs, that's nothing compared to five. I mean, well, excuse me, the five is nothing compared to that, right? So like, but realistically, um, how do you do that? So when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, it's an entry level cert, right? I think a lot of hype is put on it. Um, but from what I've heard from individuals who are in the field who have the OSCP, have the OCP, and stuff like that, um, when they look back at it, they're like, the OSCP was nothing. And it's like, okay, cool, that's great. How long you been in the field? 10 years, cool. But I think every certification um, gives you some type of information that's valid, right? Not saying the whole certification is king, but there's portions of it that you can apply, you can take, and you can utilize. But I think the real purpose of the certification is to say that, hey, it's not just like, I read this book, like in college, right? Let me read this material. I take a quiz, read some more material, and I take a test. But like, it's more like, hey, this is the information, this is what you need to do, and then you apply that, right? That shows that not only you comprehended that information, you were able to retain that information, but it also shows that you're able to act on that information and understand the result of which how you acted upon it. So I think that's a major point and major part of it as well.
Yeah, I think also like for me especially, it was certification. It was not what I learned mostly in the ICP course. It was actually not hacking, but who I am as a person,
Hmm.
and it was kind of like a battle with myself, and like how fast I get angry if something doesn't work, and And in the first week, I wanted to smash my keyboard so many times, and like like smash something over the wall, or like I was so angry because a lot of the labs were not working, or I spent a lot of hours doing the exercise and couldn't submit it because I don't know the field didn't accept my answer, or because it didn't work. It wasn't my fault. But then I started to learn how to manage my anger and like this and not let it go like get to me, and and I became like, oh, by the end of the course, it was kind of funny for me,
100%.
comparing how angry I was at the beginning. I was like, oh, it doesn't work, it doesn't matter, let's do another
100%.
one. It was like,
100%.
and it's like actually it's how you said it's a crunch because the most stressful thing is like it's enough the time constraint,
Mhm.
that creates like you put a lot of pressure on yourself and it's like very unnecessary if you do that. But and one person told me, oh, because I said, oh, I'm so stressed, OCP, and it was like a big deal to me because I felt like I'm this tiny person and OCP is like this giant, it's like, yeah, and like how can I go about it? And he was like, why are you so nervous? Just like sit and write, do your best, and that's it. It's just
Exactly.
an exam, that's all that is. It's not like a life or death situation. It's just an exam. What you lose there is your time and maybe the money if you paid for it, and that's it. You did your best, and like you can pat yourself on your shoulder and go go on with your life, I guess. So.
Exactly. 100%. 100%.
And if you don't pass the first time, a lot of people didn't, so they passed the second or third, and they are still very valuable specialists. So it doesn't really matter it doesn't really, I don't know, define you if you don't pass the first time. So yeah.
No,
And the
100%.
last question here is, what significance do you attach to a challenge coin, viewing it as more as just a token, but as a true token of appreciation? That's
For me, it was more of when I first got my first. It was like a badge of honor, right? Um, but then I started seeing the symbolic meaning behind it, right? And this is coming from like my dad in the military background, um, and I started looking more into it. So I created my own challenge coin, and I wanted it to be very personal, right, for individuals who either were like personal mentors, right, or individuals who had a key component within my early stages of my growth and my journey within cybersecurity. So I created this challenge coin, and for me, a challenge coin means more than just hey, pat on the back, you did a good job, or hey, like here it is. It's more of like how can I give something to an individual, right? Like if I'm for example, if I'm in the early stages of my career, I don't have a lot of money. I have multiple people that I really care about, and I want. How do I give back to them, and how do I give them a token of my appreciation that will not put me in debt, right? Um, and I feel like a challenge coin is a good start, right? Because it has sentimental value. It retains that sentimental value, and also it has its legacy of what it stands for, right? Even outside of the military. So again, I created these challenge coins. Very few that I created, but it was for individuals who, um, again, were major mentors, had a part in my growth, um, or just were substantial um, to me in overcoming my obstacles, right? Like bits of advice or, like people don't understand, right? When you have an individual who doesn't get paid, right? But like I mean, you're going through something. It's 2:30 in the morning, and you shoot them something in Discord, like, "Hey, bro. Hey, sis. I'm stressed right now. These are the things that I'm trying to overcome." And this person takes time of their early morning to respond and don't expect anything from you, right? And just care about you. That's deeper than, hey, this is a touch grass moment, right? This is an individual who really cares about your existence, right? And I think the least you can do, is give them something, right? So that's what I want to do, and being in this for like 2.5 years and going through all this and meeting all these people, I realized how far I came, and so I created these, and when I started giving them out, the reaction that I got was crazy. It was just like, these are people who have been in the industry for 5, 20 plus years, right? And when I'm handing them these coins, it's, for me, it was like, it was almost an emotional thing, right? Because it's just like, hey, I'm I wish I can give you more at this point in my life, but I can't. But I wanted to give something back, and it goes back to, like I said, the Gen 1, Gen 2 hackers, where it's like, these are individuals who, it wasn't about the money, it was about the culture, it was about, the love to go above and beyond what this current tech was giving us. And I think, the simple way to do that is to just like dig in and understand how it works. And understanding how it works, from my perspective, is like, hey, this challenge coins means a lot. I can afford $500 for X amount of coins. Let's do it. Let's run it, right? And that's what I did. Um, you know, and it was more of like, hey, I just want to make sure that every individual who had a part in making me better, they understand that here's something that I can give to you that you can have and carry on, um, and prosper to that.
Yeah, I really applaud like that idea because say about that on my example. So I give without expecting anything in return because that's who I am as a person.
Mhm.
But so I don't really wait for, I don't know, gratitude or, I don't know, gifts or anything. But if someone tells me thank you or like shows me that they're really grateful, that's the reward actually. So although I wasn't expecting it because it doesn't really happen most of the time, but if someone like really says something like that, it means the world to me because I see that actually my actions mattered something. It's like my time was well spent, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. So
100%.
so yeah, it's like I think it's a very valuable token of appreciation, and like even if the person can display it and like remember you later on. Yeah.
100%.
But okay, how can individuals effectively expand their skill sets while still focusing on their niche? What educational platforms would you recommend or ways to learn that specific thing? For example, I'm interested in IoT hacking, so
Mhm.
how can I learn that?
I'm gonna go back to like one of my early mentors and one of my really good buddies, Royce Davis. Um, when he told me, like, look, you guys have it so great right nowadays because you can Google anything. But like when they were coming up, there was no Google, right? Like, so I would say your starting point should all, and it doesn't have to necessarily be Google, but a search engine, right? Like, for example, IoT, right? Go from there, right? As far as platforms, I would say it just depends, right? It goes back to kind of to the mentor thing, right? Like, what are you really getting out of it? What is the price take? What's the ticket on it? Like, how much does it cost? Because it then falls under like, do I have enough money for this? Like, okay, like, I want to do IoT, right? So like, you have a course that's $1,000, right?
Mhm.
And then you have a course that's 550. right? Do you have $1,000 to spend? Probably not. Um, but even if you had $1,000, have you looked through the content of that course? Like, is it worth it? Like, is it something like that you can literally Google?
Yeah.
Um, and for me, that's the biggest thing because when I first came, like I said, when I first came, I was going to go to the police academy. It didn't work out. I had some money saved up, and I started doing Udemy courses, learning all these things. I was paying for this because I didn't know. I didn't have a baseline. But now I look back at it like I can just Google half of this stuff, right? And then the other half is more of like once you have an understanding of what you're googling and what you're looking for, I mean you can find it. The more I would say the scripting part of it, that just depends on what language you're utilizing or whatnot. But I mean, for the most part, for me, I just it's always good to have a course, right? Like web app. Again, if some web app stuff, Jason Haddix all day. But I don't have the money to pay for the course. If you have the money to pay for his course, it's awesome. Definitely recommend it. Go to. Um, but again, like if you just really need to learn this, start from Google. You know, if you're not in the states, whatever, they have different search engines. So whatever your search engine of choice is, start looking, start getting the baseline, and then go from there. There's so many tutorials. There's so many YouTube videos. There's so much content out there. But I think the biggest factor about that is understanding the baseline, right? Once you understand the baseline, you can figure this out. It's not hard. Um, but sometimes people just want like, hey, I want that box. Like, just give me the course, give me the material. That's kind of how I felt in the beginning, like with the PNPT, right? I was like, oh, this is gonna get me ready. So I took the course. It was a good course. I liked it, but then I started realizing like it was all automation, right? I was missing the foundations of like how my uncle was telling me like, hey, okay, like yeah, we'll run this, which will give you this, but like, dude, like what is nmap and what are these flags that I'm running, right? How do I use um how do I use certain things when it comes to like I have SQL map, but like how do I do this manually, right? Like
Yeah.
so I
What do
think
you
I
do
think
if
it
you don't have a tool, you know?
right exactly, or that tool is not functional anymore because as one day this is good, and then the next day it's broken because they decided to make this update. So like, or you decided, or you don't know anything about Docker, and you can't throw this in a Docker container because this Python doesn't work with it. Like it turns into a mess, right? And so like I go back to like the manual way of understanding how to do these things is the best. Um, and that's the key thing that Royce taught me early on. You know, is Cali's great, but really like pull down Ubuntu, spin it up, pull down your tools, and run it from there. You need to understand how these things operate. You need to understand what are the dependencies, and what is needed for these things to run. And if you update this, will it interfere with this? And what is your escape clause if
Yeah.
that happens? Do you have enough knowledge and understanding to throw this into a Docker and just run it straight from there? Like so, I mean, I think all these things are valid, and again, when it comes to platforms, hey, if you got the money and you want to spend money, cool. But me personally, I would suggest understanding how these things really work, doing the legwork, um, as my uncle said, like starting from scratch.
Yeah. I agree. Uh, yeah, actually, and what would you do if you don't have access to the internet on an assignment? So that's another like, like a curveball.
Hmm. And again, To piggyback off what was just said, like, and that's where the manual stuff comes into play, right? So like, um, if you don't have internet on an engagement, right? Like, uh, basic stuff, right? So like, I was on an interview one time, right, when I was applying for this position, and they were asking me about some EDR system and da 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 da, and I was just like, look, man, at my current job, we don't have EDR. Like everything we do is manual. Like we use Event Viewer. Like we 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 don't have any of that. Our company's cheap. They don't implement that stuff. So like we have to do manual stuff. So like if you're on engagement, you don't have internet access. Understanding how these things work is a big advantage, right? Like so for me personally, I would say give me an example of something, right? Like so you're in engagement. Give me an example. What am I
Mm.
looking for? I have no internet access. What am I looking for? Just throw
Mm,
something out there.
I don't know, the domain controller of, I don't know, you gave me a
Okay.
curveball. I have no.
I'm sorry. Okay, so the domain controller, right? So you're in engagement, right? You have low level access.
Hmm.
The action plan is to get to the domain controller, right? You have a low level user. You're on workstation one, right? On workstation one, they have local admin, but you don't really have anything other than that, right? So how do you do that with no with nothing, right? With no internet. I mean, first and foremost, what I would do is look at the whole environment, right? Like, yeah, it's local admin, but so how does that transition to the domain, right? Because the objective is to get the domain controller. So like with what I have, how do I get to the domain controller? I mean, not necessarily like, do you need internet access, right? You're already on the box.
Yeah, you have to understand what is the architecture there, yeah?
Yeah, I mean,
How to get there.
so you don't have anything, right? It's DMZ, right? It's isolated, all right. But so like so you start going through the box, right? What I've seen, even like on personal stuff, as far as like within an environment, I've seen like where individuals have a certain software specs that have the password, right? So, like, to give you an example, we deal with analytical instrumentation. So, like, you'll have like, oh, okay, you have a not a domain user, but a lot of this analytical instrument software, they want you to give them access to um, not a domain admin, but a local admin, right? So now you have this access for this software that can pivot from there. You don't need any internet access because usually the analytical software has its own NIC, so it's not even running on the same NIC that is connected to domain. So like now that gives you another attack surface where you can pivot and go and move from there. So it just depends. But me personally, a lot of information can be uncovered just from searching through files.
Yeah.
If you have access, you have access to pivot. You have access to explore. Um, Giving the situation and time constraints that might alter the
The results.
probability of your success, but you still have the access and the ability to pivot without these tools. Without this, everybody thinks they need tools. You really don't. I've seen things. Uh, I've seen things where where no internet access was needed because no internet access was granted, right? When you're in an isolated environment, it's a closed system, closed network, and like so there's no internet. But I've seen when there was times where you were able to pivot from that, and then it allows you to get certain information where you have domain credentials, and you can go from there. Once you're on a domain, then you don't really need the tools.
Yeah.
You can just keep traversing, right? So that's my outlook on it. Tools are great. It's great to know tools, but what I learned early on is tools always change. They always break depending on what it is. You can't depend on that. The methodology is key. How do you traverse?
Yeah, understand what is going on. But also I wanted to add at first I started googling job positions and what are the requirements. And then if I have seen like certifications that they want, then I googled that certification and what is the curriculum, and then started learning the curriculum. So I think that's a because you enter cybersecurity and there's like so much material and you don't really know where to put your hands in. So if someone like me needs like a more structural way to go about things, I think following the course of a certification is a good idea. And even if you don't want to get the exam at the end, so just like learning the material of that certification is a, I think, good starting point.
Hmm. And it's funny you say that because Marcus Hudson, right? The early on in everything that I was doing, I was following a lot with what he was doing, and a key idea of what he brought was like there was a I forgot it was a map, and it had to like, okay, for what you want to do within cybersecurity and different domains, these are the certifications and how they line up. But the way he was describing it was like, hey, look, you could do that. You can see how these line up, but like at the end of the day, go to the job you want, look at the job description, the JD, and look at the certifications, everything that they're asking for, and then you go back to this map, and then you start looking at what it all entails, right? You look at like you pick a certification, right? The OCP, and then like you break it down to a syllabus, like what does it cover, and then you go learn that. You don't necessarily have to take the OSCP, right?
Yeah.
Because if you understand the skill set and you can make it past the HR firewall, then you can demonstrate those skill sets. And I mean, if you have the skill set, they don't care about a degree. Can you do this? So yeah, I totally agree with what you just said.
Yeah, I think it's like a good where to because people go to boot camps and like they pay a lot of money for that, and I think you can get all of that and I don't know, buy yourself a nice car
Hmm.
or whatever for that money and
Exactly.
Google all that stuff yourself, and it
Yeah.
will be even more valuable because you showed the HR and like the future employer that you know how to learn on the go and you know how to learn look for the knowledge.
100%. Like I think, and I might even get bashed for this, but I don't even really care. Anybody that says like Googling is not a very high percentage of what you will do is a lie. Because I've seen people starting out, I've seen mid-level people, and I've seen senior people. Like nobody knows everything, right? Like if you are either too afraid or too ashamed, or you just super cocky, where you feel like Google is not your friend, to me, you're hindering yourself, right? And realistically, you're hindering whatever company you work for, because like, dude, again, everything changes, right? What you thought was the most viable and necessary plan of action today can be completely different a week from now. So like staying uh, hip deep and always understanding the new TTPs is the most important thing that you can really do, right? Like, not saying you should believe everything you see on Google, because you shouldn't, but I'm just saying like really understanding the fundamentals and the techniques of how this stuff works is invaluable, right? Like, I mean, Google is your friend. Remember that.
Yeah.
And anybody that say they don't use Google, majority of their job, they're a lie. I'm sorry, they're just a lie.
Yeah, I'm going through the CBBH course right now, and there's like when challenges, they
Hmm.
have sometimes the button when you can ask for a hint, and I
Hmm.
pressed the button like I don't know maybe 3 or 4 times, and every time the hint was Google is your friend.
Nice, nice. Like 100%. Like, I mean, it is what it is.
Oh, and what you just said about Googling and like if you think that people don't do it. So I wanted to become yeah, so I always worked for like contract of employment for like a bigger company. So I was
Hmm.
hired by them, but I really wanted to go into being a consultant. But I thought, okay, so to be a consultant, then I have to know everything about everything, and I have to be a super great specialist that knows everything, like I don't know, 3 seconds from asking. But actually, what I've noticed, every consultant that I met after thinking that,
Hmm.
just yeah, I was just more cocky than me, very confident in himself. Probably didn't have imposter syndrome like I do. He was very good at like telling things in a cocky way, and then
Hmm.
or say, "Oh, I know all of that," or "Yeah, I have a lot of knowledge on that topic," and then just learning starting the course 5 minutes later, because he doesn't really know anything, but just really wanted the assignment. So
I Man, it's so crazy. Caveat, right? Caveat. I had a manager who swore, right? This dude was applications manager. You know, SQL was his thing, and 2.5 years later, I realized didn't even know SQL code, right? Like you've been doing this for 10 plus years. Um, I mean, dude, like I'm sorry if I was doing anything for 10 years, like you would have a baseline, right? You would understand, okay, this allows this to do this, this allows this to do this. But it was just like that's when I realized college degree is great, but a lot of times the college degree creates this void, right, where people are not held accountable for what they actually know and what their skill
yeah.
set is supposed to entail. And it really bothered me that like this individual is getting paid so much money, he doesn't even understand what he's doing, and he's been doing it for 10, I mean, 10 years.
Yeah, you had a lot of time to learn,
Like,
actually. I
you
know.
have plenty of time. Come on. So I mean, whatever. But yeah, so I would say at the end of the day, just to continue to want to strive to be better, right? No
Yeah.
one's better than anybody at the end of the day, but the individual who decides to just stop learning, to stop and just become idle, is the individual who dies, right? You have to continue to want to be better. You have to continue to want to learn more. Like nobody knows everything. The world is your oyster. Go get it.
Yeah, and actually, that's what life is about. You learn every day, and even if like life lessons, then you're being hit by something traumatic, and that is supposed to teach you something. But
Exactly.
do you just and you have the choice there. Do you want to just suffer and like ask God, oh, why me, Or then the other part is, what is this trying to teach me? Maybe I should be stronger now because something bigger is coming to hit me from the other side,
Exactly.
Because, so you have to choose which path to, or maybe some people are very afraid of change because it's hard for them. It's like a struggle. But then if you don't change when life tells you to that you should, then you will struggle afterwards because you will
Hmm.
not have enough money to, I don't know, support yourself or something like that, So uh, staying in the place is hard too if you, yeah. And the same is going forward into unknown is also hard. So I guess choose your heart.
Choose your heart. Everything is hard. Choose your heart. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I went with like the motivational quotes
I
there, but
got you. I saw
but
that. Yeah, I
but
saw
but
that.
that's true. Okay, so what qualities should someone look for in a mentor? What do you think?
um, Again, I think that's more personal, right? Like, if you know yourself to be, I don't want to say lazy, um, not as aggressive towards accomplishing your goals, um, having a drill sergeant type of mentor probably wouldn't be to your best benefit. So I think understanding like who you are first will dictate how you look for a mentor, and also like you want to understand like how you learn, right? That's a big component because like you can have a mentor who's awesome, right? Um, but the way this individual teaches, you don't understand, right? You can't comprehend. This individual teaches in like diagrams, right? Where this individual teaches in like written written information. But you're more auditory than visual. So you're going to go with this individual. That's going to be your best bet because that's how you learn. That's how you're going to be able to retain the most information. So it's knowing yourself, knowing how this individual is, and knowing how you understand information and how you retain information to get the best outcome for both parties, right? Because nobody wants to be a mentor and give all this time and this person just like, I mean, everybody knows that individual's just like, I played sports my whole life, right? So for me, it was like I was always an individual that like if we were scheduled to be there at 8 o'clock, I was there at 6 doing my own, doing everything I needed to do. By the time 8 hit, we did what we needed to do, and then when they all left, I stayed till 10, right? Like, so I was always that individual. So like people who are my mentors, they're always the individuals where like again, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, we got this. You know, you got a family, you got a wife, you got kids. It's like, all right, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, let's do it. Or let's do it. It's just a different mentality that doesn't work for everybody. So finding who you are, finding who this individual is, their technique of training, your technique of understanding, and then you kind of mesh from there.
Yeah, that's like on this example for the if I would have to go through a course that is just like reading the text, then
Mhm.
I would be very bored because I need a
Right.
graphical ex like example of or hands-on exercise to understand actually grasp the I'm very good bad with like reading the manual if I buy something headphones for example no skip skip the manual but
Yeah.
yeah, actually, that's how you learn because you have to read the documentation first. So, yeah, I learned that the hard way because at first, when I was worked as a test engineer, I was building like a project where I was automating tests, and but I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing exactly. So I have to learn on the go and research everything. And I remember that that actually was a very important lesson in my life that I was kind of chasing my own tail because I started from Googling things and like watching YouTube videos of, I don't know, some guy from India that is explaining that. And then actually I found out that if I would just read the documentation, that's everything is there. I just don't have to chase the internet for that. It's like out there. You just I don't know, that's where you start. So yeah, that's how I learned. It was
And
like
and I will
embarrassing, but
say I will say this. Maybe the comment that I made it seems a little like far-reaching. But it's because like so in my current job, the software validation lifecycle, right? There's so much documentation that needs to be read. I'm one of those individuals who, yeah, I can read something, I can retain it, but I always try to go and see a visual demonstration of what needs to transpire, right? Um, but in doing so, I've learned just like at, to what you said, like if you read the manual, it's everything is literally right there. Now, if you're trying to go outside of that domain, and we're talking about like, hey, I don't like what this button does. How do I, redo the firmware and then run it again and make it do something? That's totally different. But like the basics, right? Um, it's all in the manual. Like you realistically, all you have to do is just read it. A lot of us people don't want to read it, right? Or you read it and you can't. You need that visual. Like myself, right? I need that visual. So then I'll start trying to find a visual of it. And 9 times out of 10, a lot of the visuals that are out there are not a. I mean, they don't even help, right? They confuse more than help the process, if anything.
yeah, I agree. Uh, another question. I have like five more questions.
Hmm.
So circa.
No, you're good. You're fine.
Uh, how can individuals leverage community events and online platforms to stay connected and informed?
Um, I think the first thing is to think about is for example, like where I'm at, right? Like we have certain there's not a big scale of conferences where I'm at, right? We have our little our baseline, but even that is a starting point, right? Whether it's B sides, whether it's you know, and everybody can't go to DEF CON, right? You know, everybody here, oh, it's hacker, hacker this, hacker that. Let's go to DEF CON. But like realistically, like my first year at DEF CON was a nightmare. I hated it. I kind of didn't even want to ever go back. It was so bad, right? Because I knew nobody. 30,000 plus people. It
That's
was
a lot.
horrible. Yes, it was horrible. Um, but I met some key people, and it was so funny because these individuals knew individuals I knew, and was like, "Oh, these people, you know, you're good, bro. Just keep doing what you're doing." And then, long story short, you know, we met back up again at these conferences involved with these individuals, and it has transpired from there. And then, like my second year at DEF CON, it was totally different, right? Like the whole experience was totally different. And I would just say, like, when it comes to these conferences, you know, start off depending on what you are. If you're an introvert, start off small. If you're an extrovert, you know, hey, have fun, drop the money, go meet everybody, do what you do normally. But for an introvert, it could be difficult. Um, but also depending on where you're at. If all you have is B sides, go to the B sides. Just get the experience, start networking, get to know people, right? Um, and if you're again, if you're an introvert, just the smaller setting can be just what you need. That it's just enough that it doesn't overwhelm you and want you to go run into a closet, hide and cry. You know, because we all get to that point where it's just like it's so overwhelming. Like first DEF CON experience, 30,000 people. It's in the hottest time of the year in Vegas. It's crazy. It's like, and then you're walking through all these different hotels, and it's just insane. But I will say, just get out there. Like there's no better time than now, and there's no better place than what's right, the closest place to you and what you can afford, right? So yeah, if all you have is B sides, try out B sides. Go from there, depending on I don't know, you know where you're at, but local communities, local conferences, just get involved.
Yeah, I actually it's my dream to go to DEF CON because yeah, but I feel it would be very overwhelming for me if I don't know anyone there.
You'll
So
be fine.
I just but maybe it would be helpful because I do want to wear my Wonder Woman dress there, or like I have also like the armor, like 101 from the movie. So I'm not sure if that would be maybe too much because the skirt is a
No,
bit short, but yeah, I just really wanted to try that. But to say about the B-sides, actually, when I went to B-sides Krakow, it was my B-sides first B-sides ever, and I can tell you, man, it was like life-changing event because it was small, so I wasn't overwhelmed at all. I had a very good presentation, and the room was packed. So I was really surprised that so many people came to listen to my presentation. Although on the big scene there was like someone important talking there, and they chose me. So that felt very special. And also the people I met on the conference actually connected into the job I'm starting on Monday. So it was not the thousands of CVs that I sent. It was just being in person on the conference, meeting people, talking with them, showing them who I am. They maybe checked my LinkedIn, so I worked like few years before on my reputation, and they decided to give me a chance. So actually, yeah, that's a very good yeah uh, comment from
yeah,
you.
I got you. That's the advice I was given, and looking back at it now, that's the advice I would give back because, um, it, you know, like you have to face your fear, right? The best way to face it is is small. I mean, depending on how you are, I'll take that back. Depending on who you are and how you are, right? Like if you're a type of person who's like, hey, I just want to go, I want to jump in the water with sharks. By all means, hey, go to DEF CON, kill yourself. Um, but if you're a person that really, it struggles with this, like it's because I think a lot of people don't really understand how detrimental it can be to your psyche and to your well-being and to just your emotional state. Like for me, it's super super hard, right? But what I realized was going to these small venues and networking, and then once you get comfortable, like the part with us is not, and correct me if I'm wrong, the part with us is not that like we don't like people. It's just it takes time. Like we don't just go up, hey, how you doing? This is who I am. Like once I know you, we're good. We can talk like I can talk to you like I've known you my whole life, right? Like it's just that beginning barrier that is so crucial, and I feel like there's a lot of people who have a lot of talent that should be in cybersecurity that want to be in cybersecurity, but they're so like reluctant because they feel like, hey, the only thing they know is DEF CON. The only thing they know is Wild West Hack. Like where it's all these people, and it's just like, so what do I have where I can just like meet and just kind of build from there? So like again, small venues, build it up, start building your network. So when you get to these larger venues, now you have your core group where even if you feel a certain way, you're with your group. So it's just normal to you, right? You're talking, I don't like this area. It's too many people. Let's go over here, right? Where if you're by yourself, you're just like, oh my God, this is crazy. When do I fly back home? I got to get out of here. Let me go hide in the closet.
Yeah, yeah. And what you were saying before that some people are like very smart, but they don't have a large following. I actually know a few people like that that are very, very smart, fairly knowledgeable, but
Mhm,
they don't maybe I don't know they don't know how to build the following base, like
mhm,
what how to write a post in a way that is like engaging for the reader, so he just gives the like there.
mhm,
So there are like two sides. So I guess you have to practice the social I don't know, maybe force yourself a
mhm.
bit into the social side of things for a moment. Just it's very out of the comfort zone for like a person like me, for example. But when you just practice and you're getting better at it, you'll see that it's worth it. So yeah, maybe that's what I wanted to add. Totally
Mhm.
off topic here.
No, 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 100%, like 100%.
Yeah, and how do you stay up to date with trends and developments in your field?
Uh, from the on the job side, that just comes internally, right? Like there's certain things that we have to make sure that we are compliant with, um, whether it's from FDA, ISO, or what have you. But even outside of that, like if you're basing it off like your niche, right? Like how do you stay up to date? Realistically, you just stay up to date. You continue the continuous learning is how you stay up to date. I think, and that comes from a desire and a hunger to not just be stagnant, but to continue to build on the skill set that you already have.
And how can a person cultivate a mindset of like that of continuous learning? Maybe that person doesn't really like learning, so does he like create like a I don't know maybe a calendar event, or how can he change into I don't know, I don't want to say lazy, but like person that doesn't do that at all to a person that has like a you
The
know
well, I got you. So I don't know how it would work best for them, but for me personally, I would say like if I had somebody who was on the less ambitious side, um, I would. I don't like so much of the like the scheduled calendar because I feel like that puts a lot of pressure. It's
yeah.
more of like getting them to like getting them little bits, right? To build that hunger to want more, where it basically goes back to now they are like, how do I get more information? You see what I'm saying? Where it's not like I'm pushing this on you. It's more like I personally want to do this. So I think it's getting to a point of establishing a a curiosity, right? And then having that turn into something where they can engage and create their own process. Because nobody really wants another individual to come up with a plan for them, right? Because they
Yeah.
feel like they're tied down to this individual and they're subjective. And this individual runs their no, they don't like that. It's more of like, you know, I want it to be me that does this, right? So how do you do that? The only way you can do that is spark an idea that builds interest, and they take it from there, right? Um,
Give them
that's
the
what I
tools.
say. Yeah, exactly. Like give them the tools, give them that idea, and then let them take it from there. Honestly, I don't believe in um, creating like not saying a calendar is not good, but I don't believe in saying, hey, you have to do this. It's more like, look, if you inspire something in somebody, they're gonna take that and run with it. But if you force it on somebody, they're gonna reject it as much as possible. So inspire something, right? Like this is something they want to do, but they might not understand how to get from point A to point B. So you inspire an idea that will get them, right? That is the vehicle that gets them to point B from point A. And then from there, that hunger is just gonna turn over, and they're gonna find other avenues to acquire more information.
I have three more questions, but I just received a subscription, so now I have to uh, change the screen for a moment to say thank you here. Thank you for the subscription.
Yes, thank you.
And and yeah, now I regret my life choices because okay, so I don't see my questions are gone, but I only have like two questions left, so
Okay.
that's okay. What is your favorite hacker movie, if you can share that, or TV show?
It's so funny. I stepped back like that was a hard decision. Mr. Robot all day. Mr. Robot, like that. So again, like a lot of individuals will tell you, and it's so funny when I hear like people like my age, right, in my generation. I loved Hackers, right, like the movie Hackers. I loved it, but that wasn't. I didn't see that back then. I mean, I saw it, but it didn't like. It was just another movie to me. It didn't really resonate. Mr. Robot resonated with me because a lot of the things that this individual was dealing with, right, was things that I can relate to, right?
Yeah.
Not everything, but a lot, and it was the first movie that I really saw, or TV series, whatever you want to call it, TV series, that I saw that was like, I start seeing even early on, I start seeing certain things in there that was like, okay, that's real, that can really happen, like the rubber ducky and things like that. Like, okay, these are things that's from Hack Five. Okay, cool. Like these are things that I can relate to. Whereas like the Hackers movie, I can relate to that. Angelina Jolie, she was in Tomb Raider. Okay, cool. Like I didn't really ever watch Tomb Raider now, whatever. So like it never really resonated with me. I like the movie. I watch it from time to time, but Mr. Robot definitely is my go-to. And I think the last question, or the other question, was favorite food.
So for me, I think my favorite hacker movie is The Matrix.
Okay.
Yeah, ironically, I think I watched it like 1,000 times, the first part at least, and yeah, my favorite, like something that really shaped me and put me on the path, like put me back on the path because I really wanted to do that when I was a teenager, but then I kind of like, my mother happened, and then life happened, and then I kind of forgot that I had a dream, but Mr. Robot reminded me of that and kind of put me on the path back. So I'm really grateful. I don't know that this show came to life, and I really want to invite a person that was the technical consultant on the TV show on my podcast. I'm not sure if that will happen, but I will keep on trying, I guess. So
Shout out to Sam Ismail.
yeah, and yeah, so I guess high five because we have the same favorite TV show. Yeah.
Exactly.
And
There you
I'm wrapping up now, so I wanted to ask about your favorite food because I'm a foodie, so we talk
go.
about.
Yeah. That's so like I would say um, it's a Samoan dish called palusami. That's would be my favorite dish. Um, yeah.
Can you tell me more? I don't know that dish, so can you tell me more? What I will Google it later and like look for recipes.
All right. So like basically, um, what do you like? What do you want to know about it? Like what it is, or
Yeah, yeah, what it is?
so basically it's a couple different things. But uh, let me see how I can describe it. I'll get you the exact ingredients, so like I'm not
Oh,
going off topic. It's so it basically has spinach leaves, and it has corned beef,
oh.
and it's layered with another layer of spinach leaves, and then it has coconut milk and a couple other stuff, and it's layered within aluminum foil and cooked from there. Um, and then yeah, so
So
basically it's spinach, corned beef, and coconut milk, but it's super good. And when I was playing rugby in Hawaii, I got to experience a lot of it as my go-to before we stepped onto the pitch. So it's one of my favorite dishes.
yeah, if you when you gave me the description, it reminded me of lasagna because it's layered. So
Hmm.
that's interesting. So I will definitely Google that one because it sounds delicious. So I wanted to thank you for coming on to my stream, and I really liked talking to you. So I was really asking you more questions that I actually wanted at the beginning because it's like very a good conversation and I feel at ease with you. So I hope I can meet you live on one of the conferences in the future. And yeah, again, thank you for coming. And if you have any final words, you can share those now.
Okay. Uh, First and foremost, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to come on here. It's great talking to you again since the last time we met. And then just want to give a shout out to Dead Pixel Sec, Red Seer Security. Um, Also, I just want to say to everybody who has inspired me, mentored me throughout the years, thank you for everything. Um, Other than that, for anybody who is new and trying to get into cybersecurity, definitely reach out. Um, Information will be in within the details. But outside of that, like, dude, like really, um, the it's kind of like chewing on glass in the beginning, right? It's hard, it hurts, it's painful, but don't think about it from the money perspective. The money will come. Think about it from like the lives you're changing, the security of our infrastructures around the world, and things of that nature. And when you start looking at it like that, then you really understand how this stuff builds out. And then from there, it's just like, hey, look, once you start getting a good understanding, it's never too early to mentor. It's never too early to help the next generation. The only way that we're going to keep this up is by building out the infrastructure and bringing more individuals in and teaching them the right way. Outside of that, again, thank you so much. It was great being here. Um, Hack the planet.
Yeah, hug the planet. Oh. So yeah, but what you said just now, I wanted to say that yeah, money will come, but just like start learning and if find a part of cyber that really brings you joy and like something that you like doing and not don't go into cyber for the money, just go for the passion and like for something that you like because yeah, if you just go for the money, you will not have fun. But if you just love it anyway, so that's I think that's the way to go. So okay, final words from me, and thank you again for coming and bye.
See you later.